Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So today I'm going to be using some masking techniques to show you how to make a cute card and a flipper for my planner using this month's Planner's Anonymous kit. So if you want to see how I did this, then just keep watching. Alright, so this is going to be a stamping project. So we're grabbing our stamps out from the kit. Also just going to grab my stamp block. I'm going to get some ink. I'm going to use my Memento Ink because we are going to be doing some ink blending with this one. And then I'm also going to grab my cutter and some cardboard. All pretty simple. Not really all that hard. This does get a little bit harder as we go though. I'm also grabbing, sorry I forgot about this, my all adhesive post-it notes. So the first thing we need to do is cut our card to the sort of the right size. I'm going to make this as a card. But I think what I'll do at the end is kind of fix this to be something to use in my decoration next week. So I'm going to be using Planner Babe to decorate next week in my planner. So I'm going to do this as the same as the right sort of size to be a standard card front. I have got one that I've already made, so I might show you how to use it as a card and then also how to use it as a flipper. Maybe, depends how long we go here. So the size is 10.5 by 14.5. So I'm just going to use the measurements on my cutter to get those. Oh, where'd you come from? It's hiding under my cutter. So I'm not, like, if this isn't exactly 10.5 by 14.5, I'm not worried. I don't mind. But that's what we're aiming for. Alright, so there's our little bit of card. I'm also just going to grab in really quickly my mat and a bit of scrap paper because we're going to need both. So then what we need to do is we need to stamp out our peony. So I'm just grabbing this one. You can use anything for this, but for this one we're using this big peony here. And what we're going to do is stamp this, stamp this all over this bit of cardboard. So we're going to do it in a bit of a random kind of pattern. So there'll be lots of wiggling our block around. You can do it all the same way if you want to, if you want a more uniform kind of one. I think the moving around of it looks a little cooler. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to ink this up. Whenever I'm doing a random pattern like this, I like to start sort of not in the middle, but with the full ones, and then you work out to the not so full ones. So we'll stamp that down. There we go. And then we ink back up again. Just going to grab a baby wipe out so I don't get any sort of on the block. There's nothing worse than being 3/4 of the way through a stamping project and then accidentally getting a dollop of ink somewhere you didn't mean to. So I'm just rotating this around a little bit and we'll place it. There we go. And we repeat this process all over the page. So before we put this away, we need to grab our adhesive note sticky thing. And this is the part that takes a really long time. And this is why I've done some of these already so that you guys don't have to sit through it. So you just need to stamp that on. It doesn't need to be a great impression. It just needs to be an impression. So don't panic too much if you've missed a little bit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut this out. So this becomes a mask. Now for something as big as this project, you are going to need to cut a lot of these. Like I said, I've already made one. So I have already done this whole thing and I've cut out a bunch of masks. You can see they're actually all covered in ink at the moment. So I've got all of them all done, but it did take me probably an hour-ish to cut them all out because you do have to do it by hand. If you have a Cricut or something similar, you can do it that way. I have an issue with it only because I never seem to get the sizing exactly right. At least this way I get the sizing right. So you need to cut this out just on the outside of the ink line. You need to leave the ink line there, otherwise it'll be too small. And you need to get it as close as you can. So this is like the ultimate, remember how sometimes I just sort of say I'm not being fussy with this, I'm just cutting it out? This is the opposite. This is, you need to pay really close attention, make sure you're getting exactly on the lines, exactly every little lump and bump. Because the better you do this, the better it will look in the end. Now I'll often sort of cut, I'll show you in this little bit over here. So the easy part, I'll cut the whole way around. So you can sort of see there, I've cut up to this bit. This next bit, because we go all the way in, which is sometimes a little hard to maneuver your scissors, I'll go up and then kind of keep going, and I can come back to that other bit afterwards. Same thing here. That's just such a big dip that it's sometimes easy just to get the main shape done and then go back and do the details. So I've left a couple of those, so then we just go back in when there's a little bit less paper on it. It's a little bit less complicated. And it doesn't have to be 100% perfect. Like, don't think that you need to get this exactly right. Some of the little white gaps around the outside actually make it look really cool. Definitely makes it look handmade anyway, which is kind of the point. This is the only little notch in this stamp that I don't like. It just kind of pops out, or got this little notchy bit that's hard to get around. But, and like I said, I cut all these out last night by hand, so there were a few. I've got the nuances of cutting these out. And because I've done this pattern and I haven't looked at the other pattern that I did on the other page again, I don't know if I've got enough of the mask. If I don't have enough, I'll have to cut some more. But they are reusable. Obviously, I'm going to reuse these bunch. But they're good for probably 6 or 7 stamps before they start losing their sticky. What you can do is grab some repositionable glue, like the one that I used for when I made my post-it notes, and you can make them sticky again. So don't think that this is just a one-time thing. If you're going to make this card more than once, these actually end up being rather cool. So then we just need to stick these down all over the flower. You want to get them as close, whoops, I missed a bit. Oh, I missed a bit. See how good these stick, because I can't get it up. Once you put it down, you really can see if you've missed anything. There we go. So you really want to make sure you cover up as much of the, like you get the mask right on. And then we'll put down all of these ones. And sort of see which ones of these were used last time on the page and which ones were used just off the page. So I'm going to do this super quick and I'll be right back. Got all of the flowers stuck down there. Need to just be a little bit careful when you're pulling it up. Thankfully I had the exact right amount, so that's just lucky. So the only other thing I like to do before I actually start inking this up is just grab one of the other bits of scrap paper. Just give this a big rub, and that's for no other reason than I'm trying to get the adhesive to stick. If you had a bit of time, if maybe you were doing this just before you went to pick the kids up from school, or maybe went to the shops or something, leave something heavy on it just for 10 minutes. Just kind of gives it the ability to sort of sit flat, and just when you're then doing the ink blending, it's less likely to sort of come up as you're doing it. So then we're going to grab our inks in. So for this one, I'm going to be using Pickled Raspberry and Worn Lipstick. Pickled Raspberry is the colour we put down first, and then we're going to blend in a little bit of the Worn Lipstick afterwards. So I've still got a little bit of ink left on my brush, so I'm just giving this a bit of a rub. There we go. So, and this is completely personal preference. You can ink blend however you like, but the way I do it with these flowers is I want the darkest pink to be sort of over the flowers, which makes no sense because they all sort of muck into each other. And then you put stripes worth of the lighter pink in the middle. But I like to sort of start on the mask itself and then blend out until I've kind of got the colour I want. If I need to add a bit more, I will. This is also a really good time to grab a bit of cardboard or scrap paper or something just to use to protect your fingers a little bit, because otherwise you'll get them on the ink. So once you've got the colour down that you like, then just move on to the next flower. And because eventually they all kind of blur into each other, you don't have to put down as much ink the second time around. So I'm just going to continue doing this over the whole page. If I see anything that I don't like, if I think it's too light or there's something missing on one of these bits, I'll just go back in and fix it up. Having a little bit of trouble with a couple of these bits that just keep coming up, so I'm just pushing them down again before I go back in with the blender. But because we're going to move on from it pretty quick, it's not a massive deal. You just have to be aware of it, because if it pulls up while you're blending, it's a bit of a pain. I'm just going to do this one next just because whoops, that was a bit much ink anyway, just because it's sort of coming up, so, or stuck to the thing, so when I move this around a little, it's going to probably pull up. So we've got the main base pink down, and I'm just going around and looking for anywhere where it looks like there's not quite enough. I think we've got them all there. Kind of getting a bit of a sneak peek around the outside. Oh no, you're going to get a sneaky there. Anyway, I'm going to cover it back up again because I've still got to put a little bit more ink on here. So, got a little sneak peek there, guys. Where is it? There it is. So we're going to grab the worn lipstick. So first thing I'm going to do is just give this a bit of a wipe to get out any of the extra ink so I don't transfer it between the two. Because I can't possibly give back ruined ink to Denise. She'll get mad. So this looks like a lighter colour, and so you're probably thinking that's not really going to give it anything. What I love about these inks is that just a little colour difference just give you such a good finish, and it doesn't look like it when you first put it down. It just looks like the same, but there's a very subtle change in the colour. Oops, I'm just going to fix this one up because it's moved. It's a very subtle change, but it is there, and you sort of still have to blend that then, otherwise it sort of becomes very apparent. But the subtle colour changes are very cool. So I'm just going to put a couple of these sort of randomly around the place until I like the effect. You could do this multicoloured if you didn't want to do like tonals, but I just really, with the pink in this kit, I just really wanted to kind of highlight pink, that's not the right word, but show it off a little. So this is the part where make sure everything's down, make sure I'm really happy with the blending. That's why that keeps moving. It's where I'm putting all my weight when I'm holding this down. I don't know if you can kind of, looking at the camera, seeing if you guys can actually tell. I'm hoping I might actually stop and just do a quick zoom in now so you can see the tonal difference there. So you can kind of see it there in the middle. It is there, sort of just in this bit here. You can sort of see how it sort of becomes a little bit lighter. It's just kind of cool. And like I said, it's nothing massive. It's not a big kind of tonal change, but it's just there and it just adds a little bit. And just looking at that really up close, I do like it. It just needs a little bit more of a blend. All right, so before we pull up all of the mask, we're going to add a little bit of water. I just feel like these oxides just do so well with the water. It adds so much to it. So I'm just going to grab my little spray bottle. I'm going to do two things right now, and I'm going to do them both sort of on camera but with no sound because it's going to be really noisy and really annoying. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this spray bottle standing up, so this is, you sort of won't see my hands as much because I'll be up here. That's just because you get a nicer spray, I feel, from a little higher up. And then the other thing I'm going to do is grab out my heat tool and just blast this so that it, number one, dries a bit faster. I'm going to use some tissues too to wipe up some of the ink, but I want it to dry a little bit faster, and I feel like you get a flatter image if you use a bit of heat. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of that with no sound, and I'll be right back. Alright, so she's mostly dry. It doesn't have to be completely dry, just mostly dry. I just wanted you guys to see really close up how cool those water speckles look before we pull up the mask, because it's just, oh, I so love those water speckles. Alright, so now comes the fun part. You may need tweezers just to get in and under some of these. I actually get a craft knife just to help, especially with these middle bits that are stuck down. But be careful when you're pulling them up, because like I said, you can reuse these. Oh, I just love it. It makes me really happy, this kind of reveal thing. Oh, so you're just grabbing underneath. Some of them will be better than others in that there'll be no sort of gap. Okay. If you really want to be like quick with this, I just sort of go around and get a little corner from each one with the knife, and then you can kind of pull it up a bit faster. Oh, I so love that. So there's a couple of little bits that, okay, I've not messed it up, but just aren't quite perfect. I always give it a shot to see if the eraser will pull it off. I never find it actually works. But there we go. There's our little kind of basis, I guess, for either a card or for our flipper. I'm just going to bring in the one I did last night just so you can see that they're pretty damn similar. Like, there's not really a big difference between the two. Actually, I'm surprised at how similar they actually do look. I think I like the one I did today just a little bit better. I don't know why though. I think the blend is nicer on this one. Anyway, so I have two. One of them, I'm just going to show you how to make into a very, very simple card. And when I say simple, I mean, you know, as simple as they possibly come, which is just grabbing in a plain old card base. And because we made this the exact right size, we can seriously just stick that down. Like, it's no more complicated than that. So I'm going to use the one I made last night for that. So I'm just going to grab my glue tape. Oops, take the lid off helps. Just stick this down. I'm going to give it a little bit more glue around them in the middle, just so it sticks. And there is your little card. If you wanted to add something to it, I'm just sitting here going, what could I add on? You could get something like your little minis. Oh, actually, this is just, where is it? I know what I want. It's the little banner that comes in here in the die cuts. It was here, I swear. Something as simple as that. I'm going to grab some foam tape. I love using foam tape with such a busy background. Sometimes you need a way to kind of set these apart. Foam tape really does give you that. It just raises them up a little bit, which lets the natural shadows of the die cuts kind of get in the way, which is really cool. More foam tape on the little banner. And if you've ever got like a not funny shape, but just a different kind of shape, you obviously can mold the foam tape to kind of fit around what you're doing. Only suggestion is if you're going to do this with kind of 2 layers, put the 2 layers on at the same time. Stick it once, cut it, stick it down, lay it up, and then cut it, because then you're going to get it in the right spot on both. throw out any of my little foam bits either. I always, like the little triangles that we did before I will, but anything else, I keep hold of them because you never know when you might need just a little bit like that. There we go. And then just trying to decide if I want to put that at the top, because the cool thing about this banner is it can go either way. And I think I like the bottom one. Something you could do too, which I'm just thinking about because I just happen to have a little bit of cardboard hanging around. No, it does. It would look really cool, like if you did a square, like especially with the black, because it's such a stark change. Because it does look awfully busy. I kind of don't want it covering the whole thing. I really only want it doing just this little sort of bit in the middle. Let's see what we can sort. This is just one of my black offcuts, so I don't mind so much if I muck it up. That's better. All right, so I'm going to put the black down and then put the dyes, the dyes on top. And sometimes it's just that, you're sort of sitting here going, oh, well, that's just perfect the way it is and I really like it and I want it to stay like that. And then you look at it and you go, well, actually, no, something's not quite right there. And you just want to add a little bit. It's just something I do with black cardboard. It does tend to get a little messy. So I just grab out something fluffy, which in this case happens to be a pen. And just give that a bit of a wipe over. It just takes off any of the little speckles of paper or anything that might be attached. And because we've got so much foam tape, that's actually pretty strong. And then you can write something in there. Now obviously you could have done that before you put that down, but because I wanted to show you guys. And then you got a cute card. Oh, I so love that. That's actually really cool. I didn't think that would work anywhere near as well as I had. All right, so for the other one, I'm going to turn this one into a flipper for me to use in my planner. Because like I said, I am going to be using the collection next week. So I'm just going to leave this as this size. I'm not going to change that part of it. I'm going to turn it into, I'm going to give it the side tabs actually. So what I want to use, I'm just going to grab the box back in. I want to use the vellum. So because I got the extra paper pack this month, I also have 2 pieces of vellum, which makes me extra super duper happy. But how good does that look on the white? Like it just looks so good. And rather than doing it as just a pocket, like just that kind of pocket, I want to have it as like a this kind of pocket. So I'm just gonna, I know it's 10.5 wide, so I'm gonna cut this to 10.5. It's amazing how much more creative you feel like you can be when you know you've got another bit. It just makes you just so much happier. Okay, and I'm gonna go, I still want it to be a pocket. Don't need it to be at the top, so I need it to come down like that. I think I'm just gonna freehand this because if I measure it too much, I feel like I'm gonna go a little bit crazy. So I'm just gonna grab a pencil, just marking off where I want it to start and finish. And I'm just gonna cut this, path it up to where I want to go. And just, being a bit careful, but not panicking too much about it. There we go. So I'm going to stick that down. I'm just going to use some glue tape. Now there is, I can't remember if it's my Christina Ray or if it's the Kmart one that you don't really see it all that much. I'm not worried if you can, to be honest. Like, it's never that bad. It's sometimes not great, but it's never that bad. I'm also going to grab back in my scrap paper just for a second, just to protect the desk a little bit. And I'm also just going to grab the vellum and just really gently mark out where the vellum goes to, just so that I put the glue in the right spot. Have it so it sits on this side, so I'm going to tab this side, and that's also then going to mean that top bit's not going to look so funny. I'll fix that up in a second because it's not cut all the way through, but that's okay. Here we go. I'm also going to round the corners just so it all looks even, and then anywhere that hasn't cut very well, sometimes vellum doesn't go through that tab punchboard quite as well as some other items do. Okay. And then what I'll do when I do my decoration is I'll find something else to put here in the corner. Whether or not I cover that all maybe with some of the very, very pretty washi tape or something like that. I'll show you in the weekly deco for that. But that's got my little pocket there to put everything in. I'm just going to put a little bit more glue at the top there just to stick that down. So my footy details can go in there. My flight details and stuff from when I'm coming home can go in there. Dog hair, it's everywhere. But I love that. And it's, if I want to put something else on there, I can. Like I can put like a to-do or a whatever. I'll have a play with it in my weekly deco. So that is sort of how I make these cute cards using masks and the stamps from the Planners Anonymous kits. God, I love them. These stamps are an unheralded superstar of the Planners Anonymous kits. I love the stamps. I know I don't use them a lot, but the more I use them and the more I pay attention to them, the more I can see that you can make. And we've made 2 gorgeous cards, one to use in our planner and one to give to a friend, with just 1 stamp. That's all we've used. Like obviously there's a lot of ink in that as well, but 1 stamp is the basis of that, and I think it looks amazing. So please let me know what you think. Leave it down below, or you can find me on any of my socials. Don't forget to give this one a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and make sure you're subscribed to my channel so you don't miss any of my future videos. Hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you again in my next one. Sending lots of huggles. Bye!